Hello and welcome back to the channel with me, the Orienteering Kid, where today we're in Bratislava for day one of the TORUS training week. Yes, we're here on the first day of the TORUS training week, which is a week that has been completely organised by course setters across Europe in order to prepare us for the upcoming TORUS Cup in March. So today's event has been organised by Dusan Furuks, and his advisors today are Jan Furuks and Pavel Ptakek. And yeah, the events that the Furuks have planned before have been very good. They've been very exciting events and they've been very tricky in places. So I'm interested to see what Dusan has planned for us this time to try and get us in the mindset ready for the TORUS Cup next month. But yeah, let's just go straight into it. We're going into the Central European section and we're on day one, which today is a 1 to 3,000 map with contours being 1 metre. It's 9 stations with a 4 metre zero tolerance in an urban area. We have some important instructions here. So the last 4 stations, so stations 6 to 9, are photographed from above. So we had some of these views in the TORUS Cup last month, so they shouldn't be too much of a problem, but they are irregular in normal trailer. And then we have black circles are going to be very large playground items, a children's castle for example, and black crosses will be playground items, fitness equipment or basketball posts. So it could be any of the 3, we've just got to keep our eyes out for all of them. As always, my answers will appear in the top right hand corner of the screen, so you can see exactly what I'm putting at the moment that I do, and we will see how today goes. Obviously it's still training, but we are going to be ranked, and you're going to be ranked on your best 6 scores across the 7 days. So even though it is training, we're still going to be competitive, as it's still going to feel like an actual event. And with that, let's have a go at day 1 of the TORUS training week. And here is station 1. Okay, so we've got the arrow nicely on 2, we've got 2 fences on the left hand side, a few trees on the right hand side. We want that tree that looks like 3 trees in a line. The third one at the end is not one. In the spur, on that tree, and on that fence. Okay, that was a nice first station. It was nice to see a contour feature in there. We don't often see many of them in online events, but it can often be very difficult to tell some of the contour features in photos. So I think unless they're highly identifiable like that one was, it was good. There was a nice little trick trying to spot the 3rd set of fences, but I think that was clear, and we obviously went to the 2nd court afterwards. So I think all those problems were good and clear. And now we'll go on to station 2. Okay, so we have a load of bushes, we have the monument in the centre, it's just like one grass patch with paths going around the sea, tree at the back, so it's a tree on the very front bush. On the monument it is the right side of it, miles away, and I mispunched there. Yeah, so you would have seen in the corner of the screen I put Charlie instead of Bravo. That is the wrong finger waggling, and I don't even know why that is, because Bravo is the complete other hand for me. But it is training. I know myself that I would have got that right. It's just preparing for the mispunch, and I knew that would happen at some point. I'm surprised it hasn't happened earlier on the channel, but there we go. But it was quite a nice station. What I believe was the only 0 on the station was good. It was very clear, it was miles away. Potentially throwing that in as the first task might have been a bit more interesting, but it is training, and I'm presuming we're going to build up in difficulty. It was a nice use of a small area though. I think it was very good. And now we'll go on to station 3. Okay, we have what I'm presuming will be the black circles. We have a load of paths at the front. There's an alphas on a tree right over there. Open land corner. There's delta there. Zip wire. Okay, that is probably what alpha's on. I could believe Echo's in that sandpit as well. That is a 0 because it's on the wrong bit, and the black crosses, it's on the wrong black cross. Yeah, that was a good 3rd station. I think the fact that Alpha was on the zip wire rather than the tree was good. I think that was fairly clear once we realised that it was a black cross task rather than a green task. And also the last 2 tasks with the 0s. The first one being on the wrong junction I think was a good one, and the controls were clearly 4 metres away from the actual location. And also being on the wrong play equipment. It did look like it was the 2nd piece of play equipment along, but you could see a 3rd piece behind it, and the 1st piece was very small. So the 1st piece would be the bit that wasn't mapped, and actually Foxtrot was on the first bit instead of the second bit of the 2 mapped ones. So I think that was very good, and these are looking like some very good stations so far, but we will see what happens as we go into Station 4. Okay, so we have the stairs, we have the bit of open land on the right hand side, we want underneath the bridge directly. Is it the right bridge? I think it's got to be, hasn't it? Because of the stair shape. Open land that side of the stairs. Yep. That's the wrong staircase. End of the wall. That looks like it's the wrong wall. And paved area, that bit is Bravo. And I actually put Bravo, not Charlie that time, which is good. But yeah, that was a very interesting use of the area again. I think he's definitely pulling some very interesting stuff out of small areas, which is very good. But we have the different forms of the staircase, which were utilised quite nicely, trying to identify which bridge you were actually looking at, because we could only see one, so I think that should have made it clear with the map orientated the right way. But it's still nice to check whether there's actually meant to be one hidden behind the area. But that was good. I think this is turning out to be a very interesting day, which is good, and hopefully the miss punch hasn't let me down, but we'll see what happens. We've still got 5 stations to go, and we will go on to Station 5. Okay, we have the circle of paved area in the centre with a tree at the back with trees all around. We want the tree behind it, so that must be Delta. This bit of bush, I don't know what else Bravo's on. That bush over there, that tree, is it on the tree? Yeah, it must be. And tree over here, 1, 2, that's a 0. Because that tree is out the photo, I believe, because I could see 2 trees on the right hand side of the path, and I believe we were meant to be going for the 3rd tree along out the photo. But yeah, that was good. I think the map could have been orientated slightly in another direction to try and line up the path that we were looking down, because it didn't seem to be quite aligned, but that didn't really hinder the tasks too much because we knew exactly where we were. It's a good task with Bravo right in front of us, and then off to the previous sides, and then sending us off to Alpha, and then doing the Foxtrot or 0 task at the end was a nice little trick to finish off with. So I think that was very good. And now we move on to the final 4 stations of the day, which means that we are now going to be doing aerial views, or taken from the 7th floor, as it said, rather than just standing ground. So we are prepared for that, we are ready, and we will go into Station 6. Okay, so they're all nicely pointed out with the trees, with the building and the bits of area. We want that tree, which I can believe is Charlie because of the building. That bit of woodland over there looks like Echo. That tree there, 1, 2, is Bravo. That tree there is Delta, and that bit there is Alpha. So that was a nice little no 0 station to try and bring us into the aerial view stations, which I think is very good and a nice little way to bring us in. Again, it's only training, so we're trying to get us to learn a bit. Yeah, there isn't really much to say about that. It was quite a nice anchor spotting the building. I think that was the key thing there, to try and make sure you were on the right bit of paved area, because it looked like there were a couple going across, and that helped solve the first task actually. Although the tree that Charlie was on was a bit hidden, but I can believe it was definitely there, and the position of Charlie definitely worked. And yeah, all the other tasks seemed alright, and yeah, we'll go on to Station 7. Okay, we have the bits of fence there that we were looking at before actually. The Foxtrot's at the back, that is on the wrong spur because of we were looking at it before. I can believe Delta. I can believe that you can see the bit of paved area by Bravo. It's on the inside corner of the paved area, and that line of 3 trees. Yeah, it was quite nice to see an area we got before, and actually remembering it's the area we got before, I noticed that Foxtrot was in the first spur along, and so when the first task came up and it was the second spur along, I could immediately put 0 straight away, which was good. Although I then slowed up trying to spot whether Delta was actually on a water fountain or whatever the water feature was there, but it looked in about the right place, and so I believed it. That seems to be my tactic through a few of these, but it has worked out normally. Also, the paved area by Bravo was clear Echo seemed to be on the end of the paved area instead of the fence, and Charlie was on the end of the right line of trees. So I think they were all fine there, and I think that I got quite lucky at the start, but that is sometimes what happens. And we will go on to Station 8. Okay, so it's a snowy picture now. Okay, Alpha's right to the left, so don't forget that. 3 patches of whatever. If it's that, where's the building, I guess is my question. Oh, okay, we're on the different patch, we're on this bit instead. It's the middle one, it's the middle wall junction. So that's got to be Charlie. Tree over there. That does look like the standalone tree. Tree back there is the wrong tree, and Foxtrot. So yeah, I spent a bit of time there trying to make sure we were definitely in the wrong place, but I spotted the correct place shortly after that. The building in the first one just seemed far too close to me, but I just wanted to check that in case I was doing a wrong thing with scaling, but that seemed fine. Also, making sure that you spot all 6 kites at the start was crucial for that one, because Alpha was quite far to the left hand side there, so I could only see 5 and I've checked to the left, so that is really what you've got to do in that situation, just to make sure you have all 6, and also don't really try to answer any unless you're clear for the first task that it was miles away from the rest and the area wasn't in the photo, but if it could be in the area, make sure you've got all 6 flags. But yeah, that was another really good station, and now we will move on to the final station of the day, Station 9. Okay, it's a nighttime one with Charlie's on a building, Echo's on a tree, corner of the fence, building over there, line of 3 trees, Charlie. Canopies, Foxtrot. That tree there, is it the first tree along? I don't think it is, but I may regret that. That's miles away. And line of trees there is Echo. So it's not quite fitting on the screen, all my results, but 183 plus the 30-second penalty for mispunching will be 203, and it's actually the same score that I managed to get during the TORUS trophy event. But let's have a look and see how we did. And Station 1 started off quite nicely for us. We have the Bravo nicely pointed out to us there, although I don't think it's used across the station, but it's nice to have it pointed out there because it's quite far in the background. We have Alpha on the fence, we have Charlie on the right hand side of these 2 trees. Delta, because of the shorter stake, is in the re-entrant here, and Echo on the second tree, Foxtrot on the final tree, and we're asked to identify the final tree along. And in some ways it might be difficult to tell that Foxtrot is on a more distinct tree than the other 2, but I think the fact that these 2 have fences around them sort of show that these are the 2 just before the re-entrant as well, and so Foxtrot must be on this 3rd one further back. So I think that one is a clear Foxtrot. And then we want the 3rd set of fences, and again I think this is clear. You can just see the 3rd set of fences out the back there, which is miles away from Alpha, which is the one that most of you might have put, and is still more than 4 meters away from Bravo, and Bravo is clearly on another feature, so I want it over there, so that one will be a 0. We then have in the re-entrant, and as I said before, with the shorter stake on Delta, it is clear that that is meant to be inside the re-entrant, so that one must be Delta there. And then we go up to the set of 2 trees that we've said before, and we want the right hand one, or the closer one to us, so that one is Charlie. And then we go across to the set of fences, and we now want the 2nd set instead of the 3rd set, and we can see there's 1 here, so we know we must be going to this one, which does have the goal on it as well, which you can see the little goal shape in the fences there, and we want this first corner of it, so that one must be Alpha. So yeah, that was a nice station to work us in with. It was actually my quickest station of the day, and yeah, it was a very good start for the event. Then we have Station 2, which again, as I said before, I think utilised this small area very nicely. We want a tree right out the back of this, and firstly we need to identify if we are in the correct area, but everything seems to fit. We have the paved area running below us, we have the paved area going to the left hand side, and there does seem to be a road with the 2 cars on the right hand side as we want, and also this fence going along the left hand side with the corner, and we want the tree right at the back of it. And as we can see, the 3 trees have got Foxtrot top, nothing on it, and then Charlie out the back, and so that one, the answer must be Charlie. We then have the very first bush, and it's very nicely identified with the northern arrow here for the northern bush, and we want the northeast side of it, and with north going downwards, the northeast side must also be nearer to us, and Alpha is definitely on the correct side there. So that is another clear task of Alpha in my opinion. And then we move to the statue, and we also want the northwestern side of it, and we can see there that Delta is on the northwestern side of the statue, and the statue isn't 4 meters wide, so we can just go straight for Delta there. And then we see that the map moves massively, and you have that moment of doubt whether you've actually just answered the first 3 wrong, but as we said before, all the clues definitely match up for the first 3 tasks, so the location for this task must be miles to the left hand side of the photo, so we can zero that one very quickly. And then finally, the answer to this one is not Charlie. As I said before, this was very clearly a mispunch, and as I knew straight away that 21 was Charlie, I knew that this one wouldn't be. But we have the middle bush, and we want the northwestern side of it, and I could see straight away that that one was Bravo. But mispunching is things that happens, you just move on, and to be honest, that shouldn't really affect my position too much on a 9-station event. This is just training, that is what it is. We just move on from it. Try and promise yourself that you'll never do it again, but honestly I did that last time and that is what happens. It will happen again, but you just move on from it, and that's all I can do. So yeah, overall that was a very good station. As I've said before, it utilised this area really well, and I think more stations like this would be very interesting to do. Not that I'm trying to sway planners' thoughts in any way. Then we go on to station 3, and we have a very nicely positioned Delta between these 2 trees there. I think this photo worked nicely. Alpha very nicely pointed out, and Echo as well, hidden behind that tree. And we want the corner of the open land, and as we pointed out, Delta is very nicely positioned between the 2 trees, and we can see the corner in the paths there. But if we work up from the junction, we have this little wiggle that goes left, although it's not too clear on the map, and then we have the curved bits that work its way round, and we want this middle one here, which Delta does seem to be very clearly in, so I think the answer to that one is Delta there. We then go off to the left hand side, and we want the corner of the zip wire sort of line, and I think looking up, I originally thought Alpha might be on a tree, but that is very clearly on this sort of zip wire play equipment sort of post, and so that one should be Alpha there. We then go out to the other one that's been pointed out, because I believe I can just about see the rectangle of the sandbox there, which is the rectangle there, and we want the northwestern outside corner of it, which does seem to be that corner there, and so that one will be Echo. And then we come to what I said were the final 2 zeros of this station, and I think they are good, although this one I'm debating whether it's 4 meters away, but it's very clearly on the other feature. If we're believing that Delta was the correct answer for the first task, we want the corner the opposite side of that junction, which is here. Now if you put Charlie for the first task, I wouldn't be surprised if you put Bravo for the second task, because of that rule also, and I wouldn't be surprised if you put Delta for the first task but Bravo for this task, because I think if you're trying to do it too quickly, I think it could easily be that. But I'm pretty confident it should be on that corner at the back there, which has nothing on it, so that one is a 0. And we said before about this bit of unmapped play equipment out the front, and it is obviously smaller than the other 2 bits, so I don't think it should be mapped really, and the other 2 bits are very clear in the photo, although there is a tree obscuring the one at the back, but I think it's still clearly in that position. And so Foxtrot is on the front one, and we want the back one, so that one must be a 0 there. So yeah, there was another very interesting station. I liked the way these paths were used at the front. I also liked the trick with the unmapped play equipment. I'm starting to come around to that sort of thing, and yeah, it was a very well used area there. And another actually well used area was this station, because I thought there were some very interesting tasks that came along here. So the first one was under a bridge, and Echo is very clearly under a bridge. It's just trying to work out whether it is the right bridge that we want to be under, but we can actually see here there is a railing of another bridge just here, which does look like the railing of this bridge coming across, so we must actually be stood on the bridge in the south part of the map, and we want to be under the bridge in the north part of the map, which is this other bridge. Echo is very clearly under it, so that one must be Echo there. And then we go to a patch of land to the left hand side of the photo, and Alpha is very clearly on some open land. Just is it the right one? Well, it does seem to line up where these set of staircases go down and up, and as you can see the bigger staircases are in the middle, sort of where Alpha is, so that one must be Alpha there. Then we go to buy the other bridge that we have identified. So if Echo is on this first bridge, then we must be on the bridge right next to us, so it's going to be out the photo just here as another 0. Then we want what's in the control description as a crag, and we want the eastern part of it. Now it's right at the back, so it's whether it's going to be Foxtrot or not, but I believe it's not going to be Foxtrot, because Foxtrot is on the right hand side of this path, very clearly been placed on the right hand side of this path, and this control circle is going for the crag on the left hand side of the path. So in my opinion, that one should be a 0, although it may very easily be Foxtrot because it might be going for the back wall actually, so I'm not completely sure about that. We will see what the outcome of that one is. I think the answer could really be either now looking at it, but I'm going to stick with 0 and we'll see what happens there. And then finally we want the bit of paved area between the two sets of staircases, although that's not in the control description, but it is clearly between these two sets of staircases, and so it must be these two just by Alpha, and so Bravo is right down there, and Bravo it is. So yeah, that was another good station. There could potentially be another mistake there with 44, but I'm going to stick with 0 for now, and we'll see what happens later. Then we had station 5, and as I said before, I would have potentially liked the map to be orientated slightly differently, because this path looks like it's running to the left of us, and this path looks like it's running to the right of us. So maybe changing the heading by 10 degrees clockwise would have been a good option here, but again, I don't think any of the tasks were too hindered. We have a tree the other side of the paved area circle, and that is clearly where Delta is on this little bit of tree, because we are obviously stood at this end of the circle, look over the circle, and there is a little tree there. So I believe that one is Delta. We then come to a bush right next to the path, working along from this tree, and we have a bit of bush to the left hand side of this photo, and Bravo does seem to be about there, so I'm happy to go with Bravo for that one. I think that one's fair. And then we go off to the right hand side of the photo, and we want the southern edge, or we want the southern tip of a thicket, which Echo is clearly on there. If we're just basing it off Delta, there is the thicket just there on the corner, and Echo is on the southern tip of it there. We then go to one I had to think about a bit more of, and it's the tree, and I've now realised I've got this one wrong, because this is the first bit of tree that we get to from the path, and that bit of tree is the bit of woodland with the distinct boundary that's been mapped there, because it's a much bigger tree. And then we should be going off to the left hand side of it out the photo, so that one is actually a 0, so that is a good task. I'm not actually annoyed I've got that one wrong. I think that is a very good task, and well done to Dusan for putting that in. I think that might have fooled quite a few of you, but we will see. That one is now clearly a 0. And we have the tree out the photo. As we said before, we have two trees to the right hand side of the path, which are these two trees, and then we want one that's a lot further back, so that one must be a 0 there. So yeah, that was a really interesting station. I think it was a lot harder than I thought it was originally, but we are training. This is what we're doing. We're allowed to make mistakes. We're just training for the real TORUS Cups and the trophy, and yeah, I'm not really too disappointed with that. I'm more kicking myself, but in a good way. I think it's definitely helping me to focus a bit more on the map, and I think in future days that'll definitely be what I'm doing, trying to spot this bit of white potentially could be trees. But yeah, we now move on to the final 4 stations, which were the aerial view stations, and this first one was quite an interesting one. All 6 kites were pointed out with arrows, but I think that was common for the other 3 as well. And as I said, this building definitely was the clue for me to solving this, because we have the building, and then we have this line of trees here, which does seem to be these 4 trees, and you can see the tree just behind Charlie, which is the tree we are going for. And Charlie's base has definitely been placed back there, so I think that one is definitely Charlie there. That was a good first task to open up on. We then have the woodland and the woodland of white, and we have this bit of woodland out the back, the side of the paved area here, and we want the furthest away spike from us, which does seem to be the one that Echo is on, and we want the eastern tip of it. So I believe that one is Echo on the eastern tip of that woodland, and I'm happy with that. We then have the tree just behind the building that we've identified before, and as we can see, if we work along from this path, the lamppost is not mapped, but I wouldn't expect it to be. We have the first tree, and then the second tree, which is the first tree and the second tree, and so Bravo is on the tree we want, and that one should be Bravo. We then go to another tree. It's a coniferous tree this time, and we want the northwestern side of it, and it's by this water fountain, which we can just see here, and it's just south of that water fountain, and Delta is on a tree just south of that water fountain, so I think that one is Delta there. And then finally we have the corner of the paved area on the first bit of paved area with the woodland running through the centre of it, and if we look out there we can see that Alpha is on the final corner of it there, and it does seem to be like it's been placed in that position. Although that is one benefit of using virtual kites, because you can make them stand up on hard paving. But it is very clearly there. It is again Alpha, and I think that one must be No Zero Station, and I don't think I've made any mistakes there. So I think there was a very nice one to try and get us going with these aerial viewed stations. And now Station 7, we have this other angle of the area that we had in Station 1. And for this first task, I zeroed it very quickly because I noticed that Foxtrot was in this re-entrant, that Delta was also in for Station 1, as we can see there. And so if we're looking at where the circle is, so this was correct as Delta, or I'm believing it's correct as Delta. If we look where the circle moves, it moves to the second re-entrant. So it must be behind these trees over there, and Foxtrot is miles away from it in the wrong re-entrant, so that one must be a 0 there. And then we go out to what is probably the water fountain that we've had in this water fountain down here with the previous station. And if you look out over there, you can see there is just about a water fountain next to Delta. So I think that one is clearly Delta right out the back there. Other things to base it on is this other path curving round, or you can see it's by this third set of fencing, which is actually a lot clearer in this photo than it was in Station 1. We then move out to a small patch of paved area, and if you do look through carefully, you can just about see that Bravo is on this random bit of paved area just in the middle of open land. I don't know why it's there, don't ask me why, but it has made a very good tempo task, so I am not complaining that someone has actually put that square in there. But that is very clearly Bravo over there, and I'm happy with that as being on the right corner as well. Then we move to the corner of the paved area down here. We want the northern inside corner of the paved area, and we want it to be on the second set of fencing, which if we look along, Echo is on the second set of fencing, and it's on the northern inside corner with north going downwards of the paved area there. So I think that one is good with Echo. And then finally we have a line of 3 trees the other side of this fencing, and Charlie is the only plausible one here, but it's working out whether it's on the right tree. But if we've got the line of 3 trees, you can see all 3 trees in the zoom there, and we want it to be on the left hand side, or on the left hand tree in that photo, which Charlie is, and so that one must be Charlie there. So yeah, that was another good station. If you'd spotted that it was the same area as Station 1, you could have done it a lot quicker, but also I think there's definitely enough clues there to actually do that one very quickly, so that was another good one. Then we get the more interesting station of Station 8, and I think this was quite a nice tricky one to bring us in on with this first task, because we obviously have some sort of sandpits there, or what could be sandpits in this photo, but are we in the right area? Now if you just look at this area you might think yes, but there are, just in this area, there are some clues. Firstly, this building seems far too close to us, because where's the building over here? There doesn't seem to be one. And also the shapes of these sandpits, these ones go up in a diagonal line, whereas these ones there's just 2 left and right of each other. So I think immediately, without even spotting the actual area, I think it's clear that we're in the wrong place. But if you do just look slightly to the west of that area, you will see what does seem to match up as the correct area. So I think that one is clearly a 0 being in the wrong place, and I think that was a very good task to start us in. Oh, that was good. We then want the middle wall junction in the circle. We can see there's 1, 2, 3 in this circle. We want the centre one, so we want between the closest 2 squares to us, and if we're looking at these 3 squares, it's the closest 2 to us are there, and Charlie is right on that junction there, so that one is good as Charlie. And then we have a tree out the back, and it's the only distinctive tree really, because the rest have been mapped as woodland. So really, is that the distinctive tree? Well, that seems like a massive patch of trees to the right. That looks like a patch of trees to the left, and we have these stairs there, so we can presume there's a paved area, bit of path going through there, and so Echo must be on this tree. That is the only distinctive one in that area, so I'm happy to go with Echo for that one. We then go off to the left hand side and we get this Alpha, and if you haven't spotted Alpha already, you may have mispunched the previous 2, so I would have potentially put an arrow in just to point this one out, although it's not too invisible. It just required a bit more looking to spot, but that, I think that's okay. We want another distinctive tree, and now Alpha is clearly on a tree, but is it on the right tree? The distinctive tree that we want is in line with this bottom square of open land, and so it's the square of open land that Charlie and Delta are on the corners of, and if we move down we hit this tree rather than the Alpha tree. So So I believe that Alpha is part of the woodland that's been mapped as woodland, and so this one must be a 0 because I would like the control to be here on this tree instead. So that one is another clear 0, and then we move on to the final task, which is another square of open land, but it's the one separate from the line that we've just been using. So it must be this square over here. We want the southwestern inside corner, which is the corner that Foxtrot is on. So I believe that one is Foxtrot there, and that was actually my quickest task of the station. So yeah, there was a very, again, good use of the area. I think some of these stations in the small areas have been very interesting today, and even with this aerial view it was quite interesting to try and do it. So yeah, I'm very happy with that. And now we finally have this very interesting station, which I thought was a very good station. Again, I spotted the building in the background and it seems to be what I needed straight away, which was good. I just checked for the line of trees again, which seemed to work. That same tree from Station 6 is hiding in the background, but I was still confident that we were in the right place, so I was happy with Charlie there. We then move on to the canopy, or the bus shelter as it looks like in this bit, and we want the southeastern outside corner of it, and with north going downwards we want the up and to the left hand side, and so Foxtrot does seem to be on that side, so I'm happy with Foxtrot there. Now it was distinguishing whether Alpha was on the correct tree, and now I'm thinking it is, and I'm thinking this one shouldn't be a 0, because if we look at the corner of the fences and then we work along from the corner of the fences, we see that we have Alpha on that first tree there. So I am now believing that that one should be Alpha. I think what was fooling me potentially was the shadow of the tree looked like it could be another tree further out the photo, but now looking at the line of the fences I'm pretty sure that one is Alpha instead of 0 there. So that is another mistake, so on 3, potentially 4 mistakes. We then have a tree on this line, but is it the right tree? Well, Bravo is on the 4th tree along from this end, and we want the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th tree along. So we actually want this tree over there, and to me I think rather than just tree counting it just looked too far away, so I was happy with that one being Bravo. So I think that was a clear task. It didn't require you to properly tree count, which made it a bit easier for some of you, and it's why I could do it very quickly. But yeah, that one was a nice task. And then we have the final task of the day, and we want this distinctive tree that we have come to so many times in Station 1 and 7, and it is the tree after the 2 which have the fences round it as these 2 smaller ones, and it's also the tree at the end of this very long line. So I'm confident that that one is Echo. And yeah, that was a very interesting station with the nighttime view. I did like it, although some of the shadows kind of threw me a bit with Alpha, but I am now happy that that one is Alpha rather than a 0. And yeah, overall it was a very good day. He's managed to throw in a few that have tricked me today, which is good. It's always nice to be challenged and sometimes tricked at the same time. So yeah, we're looking at 3, potentially 4 mistakes, so I might be quite far down, but we will see as we look at the overall results. So I'm going to be about 270 to 300 seconds, which could still place me in the top 20, but let's have a look and see where we are. And I am currently 5th at the moment, which doesn't surprise me. We are early in the day today, as you can see. It's about 11 o'clock, so we've got another 13 hours of this to go. I'm expecting to drop from this position maybe to about 30th, but I may be proved wrong. We will see what happens, and I will join you later for the overall results. Yes, we are back, and you can see that as I expected, I have dropped down a bit all the way to 31st. I'm not really surprised at that, especially with 4 mistakes that I have realised that all the 4 that I did point out that I think either were mistakes or could potentially be mistakes were all mistakes. But I'm not too disappointed with that. I think 31st is still a very good position to be getting. Well done to Mackie Edge for winning the event today. I was in first place, as you can see, for the first station, but then it completely fell apart after that. But that is how it goes sometimes. We said about the miss punch, we said about a couple of mistakes, but yeah, that's what happens. Let's go and have a look at the station percentages for today. I'm expecting them to be fairly high, to be honest. See, it's already green, but it's looking like the first and third tasks maybe were the worst ones. Actually, an even spread between the first 3 is the worst ones, averaging 67% across those 3, which is about 2/3 of you. And you can see here 202 going for Alpha for the second task, for example, rather than 486 going for 0 was the correct answer. I think that was definitely the hardest trick in there. This was the re-entrant one with 0 or Delta really being the answers. I think even with the shorter stakes, some of you thought the Delta was further forward than you wanted with the map, so we will have a look at those too, and also a brief look at the first task. We then go on to station 2, which as it loads we scroll and it's looking very green. It's looking very green. So this one was probably answered very well, and actually 89% was the lowest percentage here, so I don't really think I need to go over much on that one, apart from maybe a brief touch on the first task, with 69 of you going for 0 and 644 of you going for the correct answer of Charlie. Now I don't know whether this was because we didn't know particularly whether we were in the right place straight away, but I think that one was clearly Charlie to start with. But again, 89% being the worst percentage in this station, that's still very high, and it looks like most of you, if not all of you, managed to get at least one right there, so very well done to all of you there. And then we go on to station 3, and it's looking like the final task here definitely was the worst answered task, with 434 of you putting Foxtrot instead of 266 putting 0. This was the unmapped play equipment task, and I'm not really surprised that that was a low percentage of 37. I think for me it was definitely clear that the other piece was smaller, but we will go have a look at that briefly. And also the first and fourth tasks, which I believe were the 2 junction tasks. A lot of you going Charlie and then Bravo, which I think was the other plausible solution that you could have gone for those 2 tasks. But about 480 of you on both the tasks managed to get that one right, so I think that was very good. We then go on to station 4, where we are scrolling, and it's again the last 2 tasks in this station that's really got them all wrong, and I reckon this 4th column is going to be the worst one, and it isn't actually, with 45%, with 329 of you going with Foxtrot and 357 going with 0. It's a clear split there. But actually this final task, with only 263 of you getting the right answer of Bravo and 221 going Charlie, and there was actually a real spread across some of the answers as well. That surprises me as the last task, because I think when it's not a 0, you're obviously used to quite a lot of the stations, so you should be able to clearly see the correct one. But yeah, 263 got that right, and really this was quite a hard station, but I don't think it was answered too badly. It was just more quite a spread of answers within the first task, as people were still trying to get their bearings. Although no one put Alpha, which I think is very good, considering Alpha was the one that wasn't on the stairs. We then go on to station 5, and we're looking green, but it's looking like the final task especially, although quite a few on the 2nd and 4th as well. And the final task being 47%, with 366 going with Foxtrot. Well, it's clear really it was between Foxtrot and 0, but I think to me that was clearly 0 out the photo. I'm surprised more people didn't get this one wrong that I did, to be honest, with it being on the wrong tree, but still 227 went for Alpha, which was the wrong answer, and 461 went for 0 and getting it right, so I think that's very well answered from all of you. 75% though for the second one I don't think is too badly answered, so yeah, we'll just have a look at those final 2 in that station. Station 6 is looking very green, but it might be the first couple of tasks, but really again it looks like an 87% was the worst percentage for this one, with only really about 80 to 100 of you getting it wrong. That's not really bad at all, and I don't think I really need to touch much on this station. I'll have a brief look at the second task, but I don't think there's much more to say about that. And then we have station 7, and it's still looking very green, and even better this time, 92% is the lowest percentage there, so I don't really think I should need to have a look at that station at all. I think that was very well answered, so well done to all of you. And then station 8, we're going down, and it's still very green. It's a bit more red this time, but 88% or 87% even was the lowest percentage here. Looks like these aerial view ones are doing very well for some of you, which is very good. We have 72% going for Alpha at the 4th task, which was the worst answered task, and 630 correctly identifying it was the 0 on the wrong tree. So very well done to all of you there. And then finally station 9, I think there's possibly going to be a bit more red in here, although I may be wrong. We can already see a bit there. There's the first task especially that people seem to be getting wrong, so that is 72% of you, with 520 going for Charlie and 154 going for 0 instead. So for this it might have just been the fact that it was the start of the station, and so people didn't particularly know exactly where they were, but we will go have a brief look at that just to make sure. And as we go back we will also have a look at the few mistakes that I made. We won't look at the miss punch, but we will see how we did here. So station 1, I think it was mainly the first 3 tasks that people got wrong here? Well, to start with, the first one, if you're coming in, you don't necessarily know exactly where you are. The tree with Foxtrot on still seems quite far forward in relation to this fence, so I can agree that some of you might have thought it's the second tree in the line, but if you look at it carefully, you can see there are 2 trees with the fences round as the smaller trees, and this bigger tree has been mapped as the one that we want the task to be on, so I think that is clearly Foxtrot. This one, I again can agree that this looks like it's the last set of fences in the line, because there isn't a grey base around this third one, which means that it's a lot more invisible, but I don't think it's a bad task. I think there's clearly the goal, for example, which gives that second bit away, and the paved area around it, so I think that's clearly not alpha. I think that is good as a 0. And also this third task, whether you think that it's within the re-entrant or not, if you're trying to say to me that delta is on the top of the hill by the tree, I think it's very clear that a control would never have that smaller stake, and so compared to these others it must be further back and down the hill in the re-entrant, so I think that one is good as delta there. But again, I'm not surprised there's quite a few mistakes with that one. And then we go to station 2, and it was just this first one which some people got wrong and put 0 instead. I don't know whether you saw this bush and potentially thought it was the tree instead accidentally, or whether you just thought we were in the wrong area. But if we're in the wrong area, where are we on the map? Because we should always be able to see our viewing point on the map, and to me this is the only area in this map which looks like we could be in the right place. So I think that one, I'm not surprised quite a lot of you got Charlie there. Station 3, it was mainly the first and the last 2 tasks. So this first task, if you didn't spot that delta was on this quad of open land and this tree was sort of getting in the way, you could have easily put Charlie for this task. And I think that one thing that definitely throws it a bit for me is that this junction of paths, or this wiggle in the paths here, isn't on the map, or if it is, it's not very clear at all from the view that we can get here. But we can see that if we follow from the black circle that we can see on the map, we want the first junction we come to as we move downwards, which is the junction that delta is on, and we want that corner. So I think that one is clearly delta, not Charlie. And in using that, if we watch where the circle moves now as we go to 34, it just jumps to the other side of that junction, which clearly has nothing on it there. But again, if you've put Charlie for the first one, you could easily put Bravo from the second one, believing you're still right. So I'm not surprised those 2 had quite a few mistakes. And also this one, I'm really not surprised this had so many mistakes, because it's another bit of unmapped play equipment. But you can, behind this tree, clearly see there is the slide with the hut, and then this other bit being the climbing frame, and those must be 2 black crosses there. And we want the one that's the furthest away from us, rather than the one that's the closest to us, which Foxtrot is on. So that one, again, is another clear 0. But with an unmapped feature task, I'm not really surprised that a lot of people have made mistakes. It's just keeping an eye out to really think to yourself, is this bit of play equipment going to be mapped compared to these 2? Which the answer at the moment is no. Then we come to this, and to be honest, I was surprised this one wasn't as badly answered, but I can see now that it should definitely be Foxtrot over 0. Firstly, the centre of the circle does seem to be about in the centre of the path for me, but that is definitely within 4 metres. This is not 4 metres wide, and this definitely should have said to me it should be Foxtrot straight away. We also want the part of a crag, and when it says the part of a crag, it needs to be at the bottom of that crag. So it should be in it rather than the top of it, and so that one will be Foxtrot rather than 0. But yeah, that is another clear mistake by me, and I'm not too concerned about that. As I keep saying, we are training. This one had a lot more wrong answers though, and I'm quite surprised by that, to be honest, because we've been working with this station for a long time already. We should really be clear by now that we have the bridge, we have the open land which Alpha was on, and we're just coming down the stairs from that bit. Then it's between the 2 stairs, it's between the 2 bigger sets of stairs, so I think that one is very clearly Bravo there. So yeah, I am fairly surprised there's quite a few mistakes, but I can also see why potentially you might not even see this Bravo kite, although quite a few of you put Charlie, which is still between 2 sets of stairs. So I don't know, maybe to me it was a fairly easy task, but I could see why quite a lot of you would have got that one wrong. Now the final 2 tasks in station 5 were the worst answered here, one of which I did definitely get wrong, and this is clearly now a 0 rather than alpha, because this massive tree has been mapped as the white woodland, and this small tree has also been described as a broad-leaved tree, and this is definitely not a broad-leaved tree. It must be a much smaller tree, similar to these sorts of trees but slightly bigger, and it's outside the photo, so that one is definitely a 0. And as we've said before, looking at this circle, we have the tree to the left hand side of the path and the 2 trees to the right hand side of the path, which Foxtrot is on, but we want a tree in another patch of 2 which is further out the photo. So when it's out the photo, it's going to be a 0 because no kites are going to be out the photo. But yeah, those were 2 very interesting 0s, and to throw them in one after the other was very good. I did like that. There weren't really any badly answered here as we move into the aerial ones. These aerial ones were all answered very well. This one was the worst answered in this station, but I don't think it was too badly answered. Some of you may have put 0 because it doesn't look like it's quite in the woodland, but if it's not in the woodland, it's definitely within 4 meters of the edge of the woodland. So within the 0 tolerance, it definitely works. It's just working out if it's the right bit of woodland in there, but to me, there isn't any other woodland over there, and it's on the southern side of it, and it's on the eastern edge of the southern side of it. So that one definitely works as Echo. Then station 7, there weren't really any badly answered here. I think this was all very well done, so that was a very good station there. And even station 8, the first task caught out barely any of you. It was just this task with the 0 that even still quite a lot of you got this one right, and you managed to notice that Alpha was still part of the woodland rather than the distinctive tree. So very well done to all of you on that one. And then this station, it was this task, and I can definitely see now that this is Alpha based on the corner of the fence, but there does to me still seem to be a tree coming out the bottom of the screen as another tree that could be below Alpha, but I can also see that that is clearly the shadow of the tree that Alpha is on. So yeah, I don't really have any problems with that. I think that one is Alpha, and I think overall this was a very good day. I have enjoyed all of today. I think Dusan has done a very good job with today's event, and it's been good fun to be training again, ready for the TORUS Cup next month. But with that, we'll have a look at the overall results for the current training week, and there are no results available yet. So we will not look at the overall results for this week so far, but we will definitely have a look tomorrow to see if they are there, but it might just be because we've only had one event. But yeah, that is the end of today's video. If you would like to like the video and subscribe to the video, you do want to make sure that you are subscribed, because you will get notified for every video that I release, making sure that you don't miss any of the videos that are coming. We'll have the rest of this week coming as soon as I can get the videos out. We've obviously got some interesting days as we go, and also try and make sure to share the video. The point of these videos isn't just for me to try and share with you some of the thoughts that I have on these days. We also want to try and expand the trailer community, and how better to do that across the world than with this internet-based website that Libor has built for us. And these competitions are definitely very exciting for any orienteers, old and new. So yeah, make sure that you're trying to share this video so we can get as many people on the leaderboard as we can. So why don't we try and aim to get 1,000 people to compete in one of these TORUS Training Week events, and we will see whether that aim can be managed. But yeah, so make sure that you've subscribed and sharing and liking, and also commenting any extra things that you think I've missed from this video, either analysis or extra parts that you want me to do. And I will see you again tomorrow for day 2 of the TORUS Training Week.